Hi everyone, Aaron Brooker here, Agronomist for Michigan and Northern Indiana. Today I wanted to talk about managing plant disease and things to think about early in the season to help us manage plant disease, especially on the corn side with tar spot and some of those other diseases we deal with. How we can think about that now to help our corn plants be able to better combat disease when it does come in. The biggest thing we need to think about is plant health. A healthy plant is going to be able to fight off disease better. It's going to be able to resist that infection better. So we do tend to see that plants that are well fertilized, that have better plant health, are going to be able to stand up to that disease better. So making sure that our fertility levels, so things like phosphorus have been tested, soil tests, making sure that we've tested those soils and we're applying the proper amount of nutrients. If tar spot is an issue, or if you're using hybrids that are maybe a little more susceptible, making sure we're not skimping on those nutrients. I know it's a year where we maybe have some lower commodity prices. However, we need to make sure we've got the proper fertility out there. And especially on those lighter soils where we don't have as much opportunity for mineralization, things like starter pop-up fertilizers, things like that help provide a little bit of that early shot of nitrogen or early shot of phosphorus. And then even some of those 2x2x2 applications where we can get some nitrogen early into that plant are really going to help get that plant off to a better start and really help it fend off later in the season, if it's healthier, fend off those diseases a little bit better. So when it comes to nitrogen rates, we need to make sure that we're using plenty of nitrogen. Typically, if we're using somewhere in that 190 pound range, which is the PFR proven rate, but depending on your soil type, it might be 180, 200, or even more than that. Making sure we've got that amount out there. And then if we're corn after corn, ensuring that we've got that additional 30 pounds or so of nitrogen out there to make up for what that corn residue and the breakdown of that is going to take away. So making sure we're accounting for that as well in those corn on corn situations to make sure we've got enough nitrogen out there. Sulfur is another big one to consider. We have some anecdotal experience with this that would seem like higher rates of sulfur seem like they help reduce disease pressure and maybe some tar spot pressure. We're going to test that a little bit more this year, but we do know that sulfur can help our nitrogen efficiency in the plant. And without some of the acid rain that we used to get, we know that some sulfur applications are necessary to attain great plant health and higher yields later in the season as well. So those sulfur applications, we can't forget those as well. And then another big piece of fertility, not only does it make our plants able to resist that disease a little bit better, but one of the big things that those diseases do later in the season is they limit grain fill and they really limit stalk quality. So tar spot, one of my biggest concerns late in the year, even if we don't reduce grain quality and yield, is that we can still have major stalk issues that result from a tar spot infection, because that plant is fighting that infection as well as pulling from that stalk to help fill that ear. And eventually in those bad infections, we just run out of material and those stalks turn very hollow and we run into issues where that corn's falling over. We have shanks that are dropping, ears that are dropping. And so we run into a lot of issues there from a stalk integrity and stalk quality standpoint as well. So really today, I just wanted to remind us, keep up that fertility, even though we're not dealing with the best commodity prices right now. It's really going to help us not only with yields, but later in the season when these plants are facing some of the threats of disease, that tar spot, even though we're still going to want to have that fungicide plant, it's something to consider that's going to help us fight those off, have a better quality crop later in the year as well. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thank you.